The news of Dianne Keaton's passing on October 11, 2025 sent shockwaves through the entire film world. She departed in solitude, having battled her relentless illnesses. But what shocked the public even more than her death was the reaction of Al Pacino, her 15-year on-screen partner. Immediately after receiving the news, Al Pacino quietly wept and exclaimed, "I will regret for the rest of my life not marrying Dianne. She was the greatest love of my life." He recalled that when Dianne had once said, "Marry me or we break up," he chose to walk away, and now that regret has become an unbearable burden. Not attending the funeral, but Pacino chose to remember Dianne in his heart, keeping all memories of her alive. From old photographs, handwritten letters to small gifts, as if each keepsake reminded him that Dianne never truly left. What heartbreaking scenes unfolded at Dianne's funeral? Who was there to pay their final respects? Watch the video to find out. On the morning of October 11, 2025 in Los Angeles, the day was gentle and clear, sunlight filtering through tall leaves onto the road before the mansion Dianne Keaton once called a private sanctuary of imagination. The house was quiet as always, with only the wind and birdsong. But inside that calm was shattered by something no one could have anticipated. At 8:08 a.m., the emergency dispatch received a brief call. "Person down." No further details, just 3 cold, weighty words. Rescue 19 immediately headed out, unaware that in a few minutes they would enter the home of one of America's legendary film stars. When the paramedics arrived, the iron gate was still closed and there was no unusual noise. A woman inside opened the door and led them in. Dianne Keaton was found motionless, and the room was flooded with light she had used for reading scripts and writing in her journal. Everything around her was neat. No signs of disturbance or fallen objects. Only silence remained, thick, like the nature of her departure itself. They transported her along the tree-lined street that Dianne had driven down countless times. The ambulance departed in silence, as if respecting the fragile peace of the morning. Just hours later, the world learned that Dianne Keaton had passed away at the age of 79. The news spread quickly, but all details of her final health condition were kept private. The family confirmed her sudden health decline, but refused to disclose the cause. In the following days, journalists and fans began piecing together fragments of information. Dianne had spoken about her battles with skin cancer, her difficult years with eating disorders, and her more frail appearance in recent times. But no one had evidence that any of this directly related to her final mourning. Every detail remained vague, like sunlight filtering through the leaves of her mansion. Brilliant, yet torn into countless fragments. Hollywood was shaken. Those who had worked with Dianne, from Woody Allen to Nancy Meyers, sent tributes, recalling her signature smile, the fedora slightly tilted on her hair, the natural poise no one could imitate. Yet behind the praise, a void remained. Who was the first to notice her fall? Who called for help? And why did everything happen so fast, so quietly? No one has a definitive answer. However, we will explore the illnesses that plagued Dianne later in the video. For now, let's move on to Dianne Keaton's funeral, where a legend was laid to rest. What we know is that Dianne Keaton's funeral took place shortly afterward. The family chose a small seaside garden where ancient olive trees whispered with the wind, as if nature itself kept the private promise Dianne once recorded in her memoir. Her family, along with her 2 adopted children, Dexter and Duke, selected this peaceful corner far from the Hollywood spotlight she had conquered, but never let define her. On October 14, 2025, just 3 days after her passing, the film world paused for a moment to honor the woman who had reshaped the image of humor and resilience. As the first guests quietly stepped through the wrought iron gate, the air was heavy with wordless grief. Bette Midler, Dianne's companion through the laughter of the First Wives Club, arrived first, her gray scarf concealing tear-stained cheeks. She held Carol Bayer Sager's hand, who had witnessed Dianne's frailty in her final days, whispering, "She never pretended, never competed. She was simply Dianne, with that mischievous smile." They sat in the front row beside simple white flowers, not vibrant roses, but sprigs of lavender from Dianne's old garden, symbolizing the simplicity she always pursued. No grand orchestra played, only an old piano softly sounding the melody from Annie Hall, the music Diane once called the laughter of my soul. The family was the heart of the ceremony, a warm circle amid the salty sea breeze. Dexter, the 29-year-old daughter with eyes like her mother, stood first, her voice trembling yet resolute. Mom taught us that life is a comedy, sometimes clumsy, sometimes painful, but always worth applauding. Duke, her 25-year-old son, sat beside her, holding her hand, eyes red, as he recalled afternoons when Diane wore eccentric hats, laughing with Reggie, her golden retriever companion. They didn't break into sobs but shared small stories. How Diane adopted them at 50. How she turned the house into a world of books and unfinished scripts. This was her wish. Not a showy ceremony, but a place where family could whisper words of love away from prying eyes. Woody Allen arrived late, dwarfed by the simple wooden chairs, his pale face like someone stepping out of an old film. The man who created Annie Hall with Diane, the masterpiece that won her the 1978 Oscar, sat alone, a cigarette unlit in hand. When invited to speak, his voice was hoarse. Diane was the embodiment of creativity. She didn't act. She lived with self-deprecating humor that only true geniuses possess. Those around nodded, recalling the complex but inspiring relationship between them. Films like Sleeper and Manhattan had portrayed Diane Keaton as unyielding, always challenging conventions. No arguments, only a quiet tribute to a woman who transformed fear into laughter. Also present were Francis Ford Coppola, who cast Diane as Kay Adams in the Godfather trilogy, stepping in with heavy steps as if carrying the legacy of the 1970s. He embraced Robert De Niro, a longtime colleague, before sitting. "Everything about Diane was creativity," Coppola said in a brief eulogy, his warm voice echoing through the simple microphone. De Niro, eyes red, added, "I am deeply saddened and shocked. I cherished her. A kind woman in a chaotic world." They spoke of long nights on set, where Diane not only acted but encouraged everyone, turning tragic scenes into moments of humanity. The air seemed to thicken as everyone listened silently, like watching a classic film one last time. Two other figures attended, Reese Witherspoon and Goldie Hawn, representing the next generation, carrying wildflowers from fields Diane once loved. Witherspoon, whom Diane had mentored as a teen in Wildflower, spoke with a choked voice. "She changed how we see women on screen. Smart, funny, and completely original." Hawn, with a sad smile, held Jane Fonda tightly, whispering about book club gatherings where Diane was always the center, with quirky fashion and everyday stories. Michael Douglas, sitting in the back row, called the loss heartbreaking, praising Diane as one of the greatest icons. As the sun set behind the horizon, the ceremony moved to a memorial of her legacy. A large screen played clips. Diane in Something's Gotta Give, smiling brightly beside Jack Nicholson. Diane in Father of the Bride, embracing Steve Martin like a true mother. Each scene reminded attendees of her journey. From a girl in Santa Ana with Broadway dreams, through groundbreaking roles, to a mother, director, and quiet advocate for mental health. Leonardo DiCaprio, sitting quietly, whispered to a companion, "She was one of a kind, and I was honored to work with her." No raucous songs, only gentle piano notes guiding people into reflection, where sorrow blended with gratitude. However, the most special person to pay tribute to Diane was her former lover, Al Pacino. He was a longtime colleague and had been the great love of her life. Upon hearing the news of Keaton's passing, Pacino sank into a pain described by close friends as extremely profound and haunting. Their relationship began in 1971 on the set of The Godfather, where Keaton played Kay Adams and Pacino embodied Michael Corleone. Those years together, though full of passion and challenges, left an indelible mark on him. And now that regret has become a dominating emotion. Close friends recounted that he wept the moment he received the news, hands trembling as he gripped the phone, unable to believe that the woman he had loved deeply and devoted his youth to remembering was gone forever. He sat quietly for hours, eyes fixed on old photographs on the table. moments of Diane laughing on the set of The Godfather, everyday smiles in Santa Ana that Pacino kept in albums, looking over them again and again in silence. Pacino never publicly issued a direct statement about Keaton's passing. Instead, his closest friends revealed that he was in deep anguish and regret for not proposing when the opportunity was in his hands. "Marry me or we break up," Keaton had said. Pacino chose to walk away, and now, after her death, he realizes that opportunity was lost forever. Friends described him repeatedly saying, "If it's destiny, it's never too late for a second chance." But sadly, now it's too late. Pacino's regret was not only a personal pain, but also a tribute to someone who had brought balance and peace to his life. In previous memoirs and interviews, he had confessed, "Being with Diane was very much about a sense of peace and comfort. I found a type of comfort that lets you feel and think with the world." Now, memories of her smiles, afternoons on set, and ordinary moments spent together have become the only treasures he keeps. Pacino did not attend Diane's funeral. Friends explained that the pain was too great for him to cross the gate. He wanted to remember Diane in his own heart, keeping her image alive forever in his mind. He wanted everything about Diane to remain intact as the memories he cherished, unaltered by the funeral or the curious eyes of the public. The image of Keaton with her mischievous smile and open heart remained vivid in Pacino's mind, transcending any ritual or farewell. In the days following her death, Pacino spent hours revisiting old photographs from The Godfather Part 2 and Part 3, where their love was most intense. A close friend revealed that he was haunted by memories, quietly recalling the years they shared, from exhausting shoots to the simple everyday moments that Keaton always knew how to turn into unforgettable memories. That unfinished love has now become a lifelong regret. He opened her old notebook, flipping through handwritten pages of scripts, small notes in blue ink, even little jottings about daily life. On one occasion, he burst into tears upon seeing Diane's words, "Don't forget to smile even when the world is against you." He also kept a silver bracelet Diane had given him for Christmas in 1975. Each time he looked at it, Pacino seemed to hear her warm, mischievous voice echoing in his memory. In 2017, at the AFI Lifetime Achievement Award for Keaton, Pacino delivered an emotional tribute, "I will love you forever." Now those words resonate as a belated farewell, emphasizing that to him Diane was not just a star, but the greatest love of his life, an irreplaceable part of his soul. In Pacino's heart, she still lives, radiant, indomitable, and whole, just as the person Hollywood once admired. Despite her illustrious and successful career, Diane endured extremely fragile health in her final days. In the last months of her life, Diane Keaton quietly faced a sudden decline in health, shocking friends and fans alike. Her medical history noted two major battles: skin cancer and bulimia. From the age of 21, she faced basal cell carcinoma, a hereditary disease that had affected her aunt, father, and brother. Around 2014, she underwent 2 surgeries to remove squamous cell carcinoma on her cheek, a challenge that made her an ardent advocate for sun protection. "It has pursued me all my life," which led friends to worry that long-term aftereffects may have contributed to her frailty, especially as her body appeared very thin and fragile in her final weeks. As Carol Bayer-Sager described after meeting her in Palm Springs, bulimia was another painful chapter in Keaton's life. Beginning in the 1970s, when the pressure to lose weight for the Broadway musical Hair pushed her into uncontrollable eating habits, she once consumed up to 20,000 calories a day. Fried chicken, French fries, sweets. Then purged, a habit she called an addiction, and the lowest point of my life. Weekly therapy helped her overcome it, but she always considered herself a recovering addict. Although the disorder did not publicly recur, it left a deep mental mark, causing her to live in isolation during her early career. Friends speculated that the psychological aftermath may have made her more vulnerable when her health declined in old age. The sudden decline became noticeable in the final months of 2025, shocking those around her. Carol Bayer-Sager, a close friend, met Keaton in Palm Springs after the January 2025 wildfires, and was stunned to see her unusually thin. She was still smiling, still humorous, but looked very frail. Others also noticed she had stopped her favorite habits, such as daily walks with her golden retriever Reggie. The last image she posted on Instagram a few weeks before her passing showed this change. An anonymous friend said Dianne didn't want anyone making a fuss. She kept it private as if she didn't want us to worry. Fans began to notice worrying signs from Keaton's rare appearances. A post from an entertainment news account described, "Dianne looked exhausted, pale, much thinner than before." Another unusual sign was her decision to sell her dream home in Los Angeles for $29 million in March 2025. This house, where she had lived since 2017 and had written a book about, symbolized her passion for architecture and family stability. Friends viewed the sale as unlike her, suggesting that her health or mental state had led her to change her lifestyle. "She loved that place, always said she would live there forever with Dexter and Duke," a source shared. This decision, along with her reduced public appearances, suggested she may have sensed her body weakening but chose to face it alone. On the morning of October 11th, the Los Angeles Fire Department was called to her home at 8:08 a.m. for emergency medical assistance. She was transported to the hospital but did not survive. Dianne Keaton passed away on October 11th, 2025 in Los Angeles at the age of 79. Her passing left a huge void in the hearts of fans and the film industry. Her legacy will be forever remembered through her iconic roles and tireless contributions to the arts. Additionally, for many years, people have wondered why Dianne Keaton never entered into marriage. Despite having passionate relationships with many talented men, from Woody Allen to Warren Beatty, it was the nearly 15-year love affair with Al Pacino that left a profound mark, haunting her and ultimately leading her to remain single. The passionate yet tragic relationship with Pacino not only shaped her heart, but also became the reason she declined proposals, as if her heart had been entirely given to one person and could not open again in the twilight of her life. When she passed on October 11th, 25, this love story remained an unfinished melody, echoing through stories and memories. They first met in 1971 on the set of The Godfather, where Keaton, a rising Broadway star, played Kay Adams, the patient wife of Michael Corleone, portrayed by Pacino. From the very first glance, Keaton was captivated by Pacino, a man with striking beauty and explosive energy like fire. She once said that Pacino was everything to her, from endless evenings of conversation to emotionally charged silent moments on set. Their love ignited during the filming of The Godfather Part II in 1974, when they found harmony in art and big dreams. They strolled the streets of New York hand in hand, as if the world of Hollywood were merely a backdrop for their own love story. Their relationship spanned the 1970s and 1980s, but it was not a smooth line. It was a passionate tango, interspersed with breakups and reconciliations, like scenes reshot for perfection. Keaton, with her open heart, loved Pacino sincerely. From laughing at his jokes to quietly sitting by his side, listening to him analyze Shakespeare. Pacino, with his free-spirited nature and career obsessions, brought both joy and pain. "He is a lost genius, and I wanted to be his guide," she once wrote in an unpublished letter later revealed by friends. Yet that freedom also made her yearn for something Pacino could not provide: a permanent promise. During those years, Keaton began dreaming of a family, a home where she could be herself without a stage hat or spotlight. She shared with People in 2017 in Teen Vogue that she wanted a house with children's laughter, a dream she hoped Pacino would help build. But Pacino, despite loving her deeply, was obsessed with his career and unbound lifestyle. On evenings by the fireplace, Keaton would hold his hand, quietly asking about the future, only to receive hugs and vague promises. "He loves me, I know, but he can belong to no one," she confided to a close friend, her voice full of regret. Those moments were etched into her heart like a sweet wound that never healed. The climax of their love came during the filming of The Godfather Part III in 1990, the final film bringing them back as Michael and Kay. The set was full of emotion, with scenes that made Keaton feel as if she were reliving their love. She hoped this would be a chance for Pacino to change, to build a future together. But when she issued the ultimatum, "Marry me or we break up," Pacino, though pained, chose to walk away. "I was too young, too busy with work," he later confessed to a close friend, according to the Daily Mail. Keaton, with a broken but resilient heart, decided to end the relationship. "I loved him completely, and that was all I had," she wrote in her diary, a line revealed by friends after her death. The breakup in 1990 was not just the end of a love affair, but also the moment that shaped Keaton's choice to remain single. After Pacino, she never fully opened her heart to anyone else. Though she had brief relationships and proposals from other men, she always declined. "I loved Al with all my heart, and no one can fill that void," she once told a friend. Her love with Pacino, though passionate, left a haunting note, not of loss, but of having given all and receiving an incomplete dream. It made her fearful of commitment, afraid no other love could match those years. Instead of marriage, Keaton found solace in motherhood. At age 50, she adopted 2 children, Dexter and Duke, and turned her home into a world full of books, films, and laughter. She once said in a 2019 Guardian interview, "I don't need a man to feel complete. I have my children, and that's my greatest love." Yet deep down, friends noticed she still carried Pacino's shadow, not with bitterness, but as a beautiful yet painful memory. The wide-brimmed hats, quirky outfits, and her loud laughter when recounting The Godfather all carried the breath of those days. Upon her passing, Diane left an impressive estate estimated at around $100 million. Her assets included income from classic roles such as The Godfather and Annie Hall, which earned her the 1977 Oscar and Something's Gotta Give, along with profits from buying and renovating historic homes in Southern California. As a lifelong single woman who never married, Keaton carefully planned to ensure her estate was distributed privately and thoughtfully, primarily through a family trust to protect her 2 adopted children and honor the values she cherished throughout her life. Keaton's film career was the foundation of her wealth, with millions from blockbuster films and royalties from classic works. Additionally, she diversified income through directing, producing, and writing books, including her memoir, Then Again, 2011, and The House That Pinterest Built, 2017, about interior design. However, real estate remained her largest asset, earning her the title of a high-end house flipper in Los Angeles. A prime example was the Brentwood home purchased in 2009 for $4.7 million, which she renovated into an architectural masterpiece and listed for $28.9 million in March 2025, just months before her passing. Other transactions in Beverly Hills and Pacific Palisades, such as the house sold to Madonna in 1997 for $6.5 million during that era, generated tens of millions in profit, showcasing her unique taste and business acumen. Keaton's diverse portfolio included cash, stocks, and tangible assets such as art, photography, and antique furniture. She lived frugally, avoiding extravagance, and was described as a careful asset manager with legal advisor support. There were no reports of debt or financial disputes, and she had established a family trust in the 1990s to 2000s, shortly after adopting Dexter and Duke. This trust ensured the estate was allocated without public court proceedings, honoring her desire for privacy. Most of Keaton's estate was dedicated to her 2 adopted children, Dexter and Duke, whom she called the greatest love of my life. Dexter, a veterinary technology graduate who lives privately, shared memories of her mother on social media, while Duke pursued music with her support. Beyond family, Keaton allocated a small portion of her estate to charity. Dianne Keaton's funeral was held in a solemn and intimate atmosphere, attended by family, close friends, and several well-known colleagues. Many shared fond memories of her, from her humor and charm to her resilience in facing illness. Colleagues paid heartfelt tributes, honoring Keaton's enormous cinematic legacy and her impact on American arts. The funeral space was filled with condolences, fresh flowers, and stories of her inspiring life, reflecting the respect and affection people held for this legendary actress. Al Pacino, her longtime lover, spoke in tribute to Dianne Keaton, calling her the only one I ever wanted to marry. What do you think of Dianne Keaton? A strong yet fragile woman, an icon of art and character. Share your thoughts. Subscribe for more articles and videos about legendary film figures. And thank you for joining us on this journey to honor Dianne Keaton.